Michael Figured, Conversations.
All right, hello. Hello, good evening, Stefan.
Hi, hi, Michiel. How are you?
Good. And we finally figured it out. We had some technical issues before we started this call, but I think everything is fine right now. Uh, you might see me having like a minor heart attack in the middle of the conversation if I'm not sure anymore if everything's recording, but we should be good to go. What are you up to these
Great.
days, Stefan?
For these days, working, not going to restaurants and not going to bars, but I think I'm not the only one. Yeah, so main focus is work. There goes all the attention to. And I'm also actually reimagining my sport habits. So spending also a lot of time on the roads, running, which I enjoy finally.
You didn't like doing sports before or running before, or did it change? What
I
changed?
did when I was a student. I never played like ball sports like football, basketball. Always sucked at it, so I wasn't the most sporty guy growing up. I got a few years when I was hitting the gym a lot. I used to run some months and then I stopped for over a year. And now since I think September, I got the running virus back. Bought a new running outfit, and now I really enjoy it. And it's really a way to actually clear my head in the weekends,
Yep.
enjoy some me time in the nature. So yeah,
Did the outfit help at all?
for me it helps. I don't know why, but when I invest in an all shiny Nike outfit, I'm more triggered to actually go running in it. So
I can
it
imagine.
helped a little to get a kickstart.
Yeah, you feel like you can just do it, right?
Yeah, definitely. I'm a big fan of the Nike slogan, "Just do it."
Yeah,
Big fan of it.
yeah,
Big motivational
yeah.
speech.
It seems like that's kind of your credo, right? If I'm like getting it right, you seem to be well all over the places. I mean it in a positive way, but you seem like you're always busy doing a lot of stuff at the same time. You are, if I looked it up correctly, you're the co-founder of 3 or 4 different companies, and then we are also connected on Instagram. So I see, what you're doing besides it as well. So you're always out and about, like running or visiting stuff. How do you even find the time to do all of that?
How do I find the time? I don't know. I don't really think about it. And then it's funny you said you were all over the place. I think at one time during the past years, I was all over the place doing a lot of different stuff that isn't related at all, stuff that seemed interesting, so I was just going to do it. But now, the last year, I also took some time for introspection and reflection. I really, yeah, started to focus more on a few things, but do those few things very well and not half and half. I think that's a mistake being all over the place I made the last years. On the other hand, it's by doing a lot of different things that you actually learn what you like, what you don't like, what you're good at, what you suck at. So I'm very happy to do it, but I felt like it was time to actually do fewer things, but go
Yeah.
deeper in them and go further.
Would all over the place for you, would that be like chaotic, or is that kind of the way you are naturally?
Chaotic. I don't know if it's the right words, but I'm a very curious guy. So I'm interested in a lot of things. For example, I studied criminology because I have a fascination for human behavior, societal changes, how we deal with criminality and deviant behavior. But I'm also interested in business. I'm also interested in environmentalism. It's a very difficult word, but I'm interested in the topic.
Yep.
I'm interested in music. I have a lot of interests. So of course, when you have a lot of interests, when something new pops up and somebody asks you, "Hey, let's do this. Let's try this," I was always the guy who was raising the hands. Yes, let's do it. I'm enthusiastic. So I think it's more a question of being curious than chaotic.
I've, the reason I invited you is, well, because I kind of look up to all the different stuff that you do. Like in every way, I kind of think like, damn, I would handle stuff a little bit more like like Stefan does. And it does feel to me like on the personality level, it looks like we're a little bit the same. So what I'm curious about is how you kind of went from all those different things that are unrelated to be able to fixate yourself on a few of those and get your focus on only those.
Yeah, how did that happen? I think the last year played a role. I think the last year played a role for a lot of us on a lot of things. But for me, it was like time to actually take the time to stand still, to look around, to reflect, to look back, and also to look forward. And I feel by doing a lot of things, and maybe for the listeners who don't know me, I studied criminology, wanted to change people's lives and change society. I went into consulting, did a lot of freelance consultancy, mostly innovation projects with startup corporates, even governments. I also was the co-founder of EBBC, which is, of course, where I met you, where I got to know you better.
Well,
the
actually,
Entrepreneurial Business
we met
Book
even
Club.
before that, right?
Yeah,
went-
that was in my innovation consultancy project where you were working for a chatbot company,
Yep.
where I was advising the local government we were working for together. So that's
Yep.
how we met. And I think then I pitched also the book club. So you went to the book
Yep,
club.
yep.
That was my way to actually get people into the book club. So everybody I would meet would become a member
Yeah.
of the book club. But so I did a book club, I did a consultancy. I also worked for a corporate venture, so a spin-off of a big insurer in Belgium. And when I looked back the last year, I found out like, hey, where is the passion at? And I felt like it wasn't in the innovation consultancy. I like doing it, but it's not that I would live and die for it, let's say. Where did I find it? It was in the EBBC, and it was not necessarily in the books. I'm a big reader, but it's not the books that passionate me the most. It was about bringing together people who have growth mindsets, who like to develop themselves, and who want to build a community together of like-minded people who actually want to grow, want to take steps in their life, in their career, both on a professional and personal level. So I found out, I think it was exactly 1 year ago when the pandemic happened, like, hey, community building, entrepreneurship, bringing together growth-minded people with entrepreneurial dreams. That was my biggest passion. It was the thing I was doing the most consistently for the last year. And during that time, I was also in contact with Matthias Lamirois and Nicolas de Koster. You might have met Nicolas also at EBBC. So, yeah. And they were at the time working on Rubicon, which was a startup. I think it was a few months old. I was one of the first customer because the excited guy I was said, yeah, this is interesting. I want to join. So I became a customer. Went to Barcelona on a getaway with them. But what they were also doing and still doing today, and today I'm part of the team, I'm the third co-founder who joined a little bit later, is we are actually building a community of growth-minded entrepreneurs who want to challenge themselves, who want to develop themselves in a community membership model where we come together on a monthly basis in interactive workshops, sessions, events, retreats to Ibiza and the Ardennes, which is a little bit difficult right now to go to Ibiza, but it's on the planning for the rest of the year.
EBBC was first. Right?
Yeah, EBBC was 4 years ago, 5 years ago, I think.
Oh,
didn't count the years.
Was it founded together with you, or was it founded and did you join then afterwards, or how did it happen?
I joined a little bit later. I'm like a typical guy who joins something in the early days, becomes excited about it, and then says like, "Hey, I wanna build this together with you." So the story of EBBC, maybe we could do it chronologically. Because I feel a little bit chaotic in the story. Right. So EBBC started with me being on holidays, and I was reading a book. It was The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. And at the time, it was 5 years ago, I had a breakup with a girlfriend I was together with for a long time. So I was kind of in a phase of reshaping my life, let's say. So I was thinking, okay, I want to meet more like-minded people. And I was reading the book at the moment. So I looked at the book like, hey, people who are reading business books, those are probably people I would enjoy meeting, enjoy hooking up with. And during my holidays, it was in the south of France with my family. I started looking on the internet for business book clubs in Belgium because I went to networking events, I went to other organizations, but I never found the kind of community I wanted to join. And at the time, I found a very small website with a logo, with the EBBC logo. It's still the same logo today. And on the website, I found the contact details of a guy named Colin Verhagen. And so I sent him a polite email like, hey, dear Mr. Verhagen, I'm Stefaan. I like reading books. I'm reading this book at the moment. I want to join EBBC, what it's all about. The website isn't very clear, but I want in. He answered me, and I went to a session, I think 2 months later. It was in Zaventem, near Brussels. It was 5 people, I think, in a room above a pizzeria in Zaventem, discussing a book, and we immediately hit it off. Colin was there, who is now one of my best friends. Kim was there. You also know Kim, I think. She's also one of my best friends, currently working in Sydney. I met Samuel over there, who's also one of my friends right now. So I immediately hit it off, and there Colin said like, "Hey, this book club, it's a cool project. It's a hobby for me. It's a passion, but I don't have the time to do it on my own." And I believed in the concept, and I said like, "Hey, Colin, I want in. I want to be part of the team."
And at the
Kim
time,
also became part of the team.
At the time, in how many different locations was EBBC already available?
That was just Brussels. So we only had the Brussels chapter. I was living in Ghent. So I joined the Brussels chapter together with Kim and Louise. So the 4 of us were the core team of EBBC. And we start scaling it in Brussels. So leading to, I think 4 months later, we had like 60 people, active members in Brussels. So Brussels was nice, but the community was getting too big. I was from Ghent, Louise was from Antwerp. So it only felt natural to also move the concept to Ghent, move the concept to Antwerp. And that's where the expansion of EBBC started.
And so EBBC, well, of course, I know what it is, but an entrepreneurial business book club. But what makes EBBC so different from other book clubs that you can find?
Yeah, well, I think there aren't too many book clubs in the world, which is nice, especially on business books clubs. There are some online clubs like a Facebook group where you discuss books, but we like the physical events. So I think what makes us different is that we had, of course, in the past, a big emphasis on physical get-togethers, meetups on a monthly basis, very consecutive. So every month there would be another session on another book hosted by another person. And that's the second element that I think makes EBBC unique. Every session is organized, facilitated by a member of the community, and it's always a different member who brings her or her personal style to the session. So it's really community driven. It's actually the members themselves who shape the community, who shape the concept, who shape the sessions. So I think that's something rather unique, which has a big advantage that it's hyper scalable. It's always somebody else who's hosting a session, and we learn so much from each other by seeing each other create presentations, breakout sessions, interactive exercises.
Yeah.
So I think that would be one of the main differentiators.
What I really like about the EBBC, sorry to interrupt you, Stefaan.
No problem.
what I really like is that, like, after the presentation is done, so it's always kind of, you always tell the people that are presenting that they have to find some topics about the book that we can discuss, and also some of the topics that we can apply in real life. And what I like most about that is the conversations afterwards that happen. And also, a lot of the times, which I really like, there's like opposing views. And the people that are joining, they are not afraid of presenting opposing views, which I also really like, because like these days it almost feels like if you have an opposing view, you have to be careful, because in some way or another you will get, the other person will get mad at you, or it will leave a bad mark on the way you talk to each other. So that's what I really like about the EBBC. It's kind of like confined space, maybe, with like-minded people that can still have opposing views and talk about it and share experiences. That's really
it's very cool to hear you say that, because that's exactly what we want to build. Get like-minded people together and really activate your knowledge. It's our mission statement. And really activate the knowledge we get out of books by discussing, interacting, sharing cases, and also going in debates. We don't have to agree on a book. I can say this book sucks, and you can say you like it. But the discussion we have, because you have opposing views, that is creating the value. That is the extra knowledge and insights you go home with.
Yep. Some books, of course, lend itself a little bit better for opposing view than others. I think the last one that I joined, and that was also in real life, also because I plan on joining some of the EBBC events online, but I work from home. I sit on a chair 8 hours a day. I can't get out much because I have an injury on my foot. So the last thing I want to do at the end of the day is like sit through 3 hours watching a screen again. So that's a little bit that's a little bit the downside of kind of this situation, I guess. But the last book was 48 Laws of Power by
Yeah, in
Tree,
July.
and that it was really interesting. Also because EBBC, I guess, well, most people are or all people are 18 plus, but still there's like a lot of age range between them, which also makes it very interesting. And you don't feel like you're a person that does not belong to the group just because you're the youngest or the oldest or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, diversity is also very important. We had teachers in the community, sales consultants, startup founders, people. We have even people working for Artsen zonder Grenzen, Médecins Sans Frontières in Brussels. So yeah, a lot of different backgrounds, but all they have one thing that they share, and it is the thirst for knowledge, the thirst for learning, and that's what makes it great. It's the people that actually make the community, not the books, not the events. It's the people you meet at those events.
Yeah, true. And
like you, you're one of them.
Thank you. Yeah, and like one of the visuals you also use is like with the different dots, and then like the information, I guess, that displayed on there. But then there's different layers on how you can actually remember the information or retain the information that you read, which was one of the main reasons I joined, because I was reading a lot, but I was not sure if it like added value to my life just because I was just reading it and not doing something with it. And I think that's where EBBC actually really comes into play, and it really helps.
Yeah.
So you mentioned, and it was a little bit hard, you were very busy. I think over the last few weeks it was a little bit difficult to get a hold of you. And when in the last week, I think, you talked to me again, you said, okay, it's possible to do the call right now. And it would be very interesting to talk about Hell Week, I think then is the book that you're reading right now or actually practicing. Can you explain a little bit about what Hell Week actually is? And is it something you're reading with EBBC or?
Yeah, it's. I'm gonna start the story with an EBBC session we did in December, and it was on the book The 6 a.m. Club.
Oh yeah, that's what
the 5 a.m. Club. I don't know if you were there.
Yeah.
So that's where the whole concept started of waking up and doing crazy stuff in the morning and at night. But we actually did a session at 5 a.m. in the morning to actually break the pattern of, like what you just mentioned, the EBBC sessions at night. After a long day of Zoom meetings, we wanted to do something different. So we tried out a session at 5 a.m. in the morning on a Tuesday morning. I think 35 people showed up. I expected 1 or 2 persons to actually wake up at before 5 a.m. because you had to be ready at 5 a.m. to join the Zoom. And after that session, I also launched a call to action to some of the participants, like, hey, I really like a morning routine. I'm an evening guy. I struggle with waking up every day. Why not do it together? Why not struggle together? And then there was some kind of follow-up WhatsApp group created with some people, and it started big. I think 20 people were in the WhatsApp group, and then it was 5 people still active. And every Monday morning we would meet up at 6 a.m. to do a little bit of reflection, like how was the last week? What is your intention for this week? It was like 30 minutes, kickstarting the day, kickstarting the week. And I think last week I saw a post on Instagram from a book, The Hell Week. And it was like you have 7 brutal days to actually become the best version of yourself. It sounded very American. I didn't read the book. Why? Because it only has 3 stars on Goodreads. And I only read books with 4 stars minimum. But I like the concept. The concepts. Yeah, I didn't. But I'm ordering it because I want to read it now that I'm applying it before reading the book. But then I start thinking like, okay, we have this morning club every Monday morning. That's nice. But on Monday morning I start at 6 a.m. But by Tuesday I'm actually waking up at 8:30, especially on home working days. So that's why we thought, like, hey, the concept of Hell Week is triggering me. Why not make our own version of the Hell Week? And we did it with 5 people, some EBBC members, some of my colleagues at Rubicon, and some other members from another community, the Brussels Impact Club, I've been working with for the last weeks. And we just started doing it. We created our own version of the Hell Week, but the Hell Week wasn't the right word for us. So last weekend we changed it to Perfect Week, because we feel like, hey, if we apply to the rules we carve in stone here, we are living the perfect life, the perfect days, let's say. So now it's hashtag perfect week instead of hashtag
So if it's a
all
perfect week, you plan on actually going through with it even after the week is done then? Because if it's like...
No, because I'm a big believer in habit building, and one of the key elements of building a new habit is starting very small. If you start with both eating healthy, both getting in bed at 10 p.m. and waking up at 6 a.m., doing something good every day, it's too much at once. But what I like about the concept, if you do it for 7 days, it's feasible to maintain it for 7 days. And it's like really a wake-up call of like, okay, now I'm being the best version of myself. And it's hard. You start thinking about stuff like, okay, I should call a friend or a family member. Why am I not doing this? Why am I wasting time on this thing? So for me, a lot of questions start popping up in my head. And it's a great exercise to see like what gives me energy. For example, some people are waking up at 6 a.m., but they feel like this is not giving me energy. This is not something that works for me. And others say like, hey, I woke up at 6 a.m. the whole week. This is something for me. I will continue doing this. So the goal is after this week, next Monday at 6 a.m., of course, we will reflect on the week and see like, okay, this is a habit I will keep doing, but not everything, because now we have 12 rules we have to obey. It's a lot. It's way too much to
which one have you done already?
Well, for now it's Wednesday. I did sports every day, so that's one of the rules. Workout every day. So I went running for 2 days, and this morning I had a workout with weights outside. It's eating healthy. So I eat it very healthy this week. Still sticking to it. Calling a friend or family member, especially in times when we're at home. It's easy to get to get out of touch with people you actually care about. Definitely. It's doing something good for the world. Like yesterday, I bought a postcard, and they will plant a tree with the money they get from the postcards. Today, I still have to figure something out. Maybe this counts as doing something good for the world.
This was it definitely made me happy. So
great. So I did something good for the world. Awesome. What are some of the other rules? No social media during business hours. I failed at it for 3 days, but I don't feel I have a social media problem. So it's also the balance over there.
Maybe you're just in the first phase, denial.
Could be. Maybe if you speak on Friday, I will say something else. And those are for me the most important rules. There's 12, but I can't sum them up right now out of my head. And we have a checklist in a Google Sheet. Every day we check off the boxes we actually ticked, and we can see each other progress in the sheet. We all have our own top.
Yep.
So that's good for the accountability.
Yeah, but you're already halfway through. So, and who did you call? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, one other important rule, of course, is read every day for 30 minutes.
Yeah, but
so that's
I guess you already did that
important.
before, right?
Yeah, but this week I didn't read on Monday. I didn't read on Tuesday. But I read today, so
okay.
I'm getting there.
Yeah. I guess one of the things to remember there is also to not quit if you just don't make one rule, I guess. Because you just have to stick with the things that work and not focus on the things that didn't work. Who did you call?
Yesterday I called my mother. Monday I called a friend.
Oh, you have to call somebody else every day.
Yeah, so that's the goal. Every day you call somebody else. So today I had a call with some friends in the early morning. I'm also calling you at the moment, so maybe that counts. I decide if it counts, so that's easy. And still figuring out who I'm going to call tomorrow. I think my grandmother. I also give her a weekly call, so that will be scheduled tomorrow night, I think.
And did you call people already that you don't call normally?
Well, for now, I call the people that are in my top 5, let's say, of the people I actually care about in life. I think towards Thursday, Friday, I will also start thinking about other people. Like, I haven't heard this person in like 6 months. How would he or she be doing? And there's so many people that you met over time that you just lost track of. Like, for example, us, we used to meet up at the EBBC. We used to work together even for a short while at the local e-commerce project. But after that, we also kind of lost touch because everybody's living their lives and it's so easy to get out of touch with people. So maybe I will call you on Saturday or Sunday. Who knows?
That's a surprise. At 6 a.m.
Yeah, probably.
I tried to do the miracle morning for a while. I did it for 30 days, I think, and it worked fine. But I I don't know, maybe that's something that's just in my nature. I can't do it if there's no like tangible goal. Like I can't just do it for the sake of doing it. When I was reading the book, I was like, okay, I'm going to stick to the rules that are in this book, and then it's fine, and I can do it. But like after the goal was met, and maybe I got up at 6 a.m. for a few more days after that, and then yeah, it just went away. But maybe I'm just not a morning person. I don't know. That's actually the whole point of the Miracle Morning, is that there's no such thing as not being a morning person. But yeah.
Yeah, I like the book, and it's very similar to the 5 a.m. Club. But I hate one thing about it, and that it's like when you're reading it, you feel obligated to wake up at 5 a.m. because otherwise you couldn't be successful. That's like the tone of voice that is in the book. And it also is very strict with the rules. Like you need a 20-minute workout, you need a 20-minute reading, you need 20 minutes of being grateful for stuff. But everybody has a different morning routine. For example, if I wake up early and I go for workouts, I don't feel the need every day to also go meditating or to start journaling or to start reading in the morning. Maybe I just like to take a long shower and enjoy a hot coffee and get off to work. Other days I will read a book if I feel like it. But I have a little bit of problem with these kind of dogmatic rules that are in those kind of books. But I like the main concept as an experiment. So like, hey, let's try it out for 7 days and see what happens.
And also what I feel like in that book, the meditation part, I'm still not like, I know it's beneficial and so on, and I read about it here and there, but I'm still not sure I can even do it. You know, I don't know. When do you know if you're meditating the right way? Do you do it sometimes, or?
I started trying it like the last month, but I'm still struggling with it. And I think the right way is when you feel that it's giving you value. So for example, you have people that say like, I meditate every day. I don't feel the need to meditate every day. But there's one moment when I do feel the need. I think it's my character to often get a little bit overwhelmed by stuff that is happening. So sometimes I feel like, whoa, it's too much at once. And at those moments, I take out my Headspace app and just do it for 10-15 minutes. And then it helps me to get at ease, to get relaxed a little bit more.
You do?
But only like on extreme stress moments.
You do it during the day?
It's mostly during the day. It's somewhere in the afternoon, mostly. But only when I feel like, okay, I have too much stress. I'm too nervous. And my head isn't clear anymore. That's the moment I like to do it.
Yeah, maybe that's why it didn't really work for me, because when I wake up, and especially like in this period of time, I work from home. So I'm not really, the first thing I am when I wake up is definitely not stressed. It's like I have time enough to prepare myself to get to work. So I was already calm when I woke up. So maybe meditating, I think meditating probably mostly helps with being stressed or to not be stressed anymore. And maybe the morning isn't the right period to do that, and I don't know.
But it's different for everybody, and often when you read self-development books, you feel like I should be doing this because this is what I need to do, but in the end, it's what works for you.
And so the morning routine, the Hell Week. So Monday is the last day then that you'll have.
Sunday night. It's from Monday morning to Sunday night. And then we stop counting, and we can go back to normal lives. So I'm mostly worried about the weekends, like waking up at 6 a.m. on Saturday and Sunday. Might be a tricky one.
Yeah, that's. Probably you will need a lot of willpower to do that.
Yeah, and the challenge is my girlfriend is not doing the challenge, but of course it's Friday night. If I go to bed at 10 p.m. and set my alarm for 6 a.m., it also affects her weekends. We'll see how it works.
And you weren't able to convince her to also do the challenge?
No, she just started working a new job this Monday, so I think she has enough challenges this week to get started with. So I didn't even try to convince her to join the Perfect Week challenge.
So but I can imagine that it's very hard to convince somebody to do a challenge like that. Like sleep is pretty, or at least like sleep is pretty holy to most people, but still a lot of people are just neglecting it, right? So there's I don't know if you have read it. It's Why We Sleep, and I forgot
Yeah,
who
very
wrote it,
nice
but
book.
that kind of changed my actually how important it is that you have a good sleep. Like I
Yeah,
don't know about you, but like I already knew that sleep was very important. But after reading that book, you're like, yeah, completely convinced that is, yeah,
yeah. And it's very brutal. Like if you don't sleep 8 hours a night, you are slowly killing yourself. That's like the main thesis of the book. But it is important. I also always feel it when I didn't sleep my 8 hours.
yeah. I recently so I don't know. Do you know? I mention him like once every podcast, so it feels like. But do you know Joe Rogan podcast?
Yeah, I didn't listen a lot to him, but everybody's very enthusiastic about it.
Yeah, and he moved from YouTube to Spotify a while ago, but seems like his numbers are declining a lot because yeah, it was just pretty easy to find him on YouTube, and Spotify is not like exactly the same. But recently he got Elon Musk on again, and seems like he sleeps about 6 or 6.5 hours. But like also the point in the book why we sleep is that's a very small minority that can actually get by 6 hours. A lot of people think they can, but yeah, it's mostly just not true. Um,
Yeah,
so you're reading a lot, and a while ago you posted your top 3 books, and one kind of piqued my attention. It's How to Change Your Mind, and I think it was actually on the number 1. Uh,
yeah.
so how come you started reading that book? Or what is it about, maybe, for the people that don't know?
Well, it is about a topic that might be controversial, because it's about drugs, or it's about two substances that people classify as drugs, and what is drugs and what is not. It's not black and white. Let's say that's the criminologist in me speaking, but it is
All
a
right.
book about psychoactive drugs. So what are psychoactive drugs? It's the magic mushrooms you might know. You might have tried, I don't know. It's LSD, which make you trip in with very visual hallucinations. It's other different kind of mostly mushroom species. The ayahuasca tea that you can drink in South America.
Yep.
But so these are substances we often we put them on the same place as cocaine, as cannabis, as heroin, and so on. They are drugs. They give you a certain kind of experience, but it's a book on actually the benefits of psychedelics. That's the term, psychedelics for these kind of drugs. And it's a book about the history of LSD. It was created in a laboratorium somewhere in the United States, and it was used as a medicine to solve mental illnesses, to solve depressions, anxiety, and so on. But it got out of the laboratorium, and it was a drug for the hippies in the 60s, but also a drug you could use in nightclubs and so on. But it's actually a book that is completely focused on the benefits of psychedelics, and it also involved the author doing mushrooms himself, doing LSD himself, to actually do a trip. And what is interesting, you see it right now also popping up. So, for example, in the Netherlands, you can book a retreat. Cost you like 1,500 euros, and there you go in a retreat. It's with yoga and meditations and so on. But you also eat magic mushrooms or LSD to actually go on a trip. And what is interesting on
Is
the
it legal
psychedelics?
in Holland?
It's semi-legal. You can buy it at smart shops. And Belgium is prohibited. You could get fined if you have it with you on the street, I think. But what's interesting about psychedelics, so you have your brain, and as you grow older, you make certain connections that are hardwired in your brain. You could use the metaphor of a snowy mountain. So it has just snowed, and you don't see any tracks of the skis and the footsteps in the snow. But once you start doing things, you start making tracks in the snow.
Yep.
So that's your thinking, the connections you make in your brain. And what is interesting about psychedelics, if you take psychedelics, it's like a fresh layer of powder of snow on the mountain, and all the tracks are a little bit erased, so it's easier to create new tracks. So what it actually says, this metaphor, it is that it enables you to make new connections between different types or segments in your brain that normally don't communicate with each other. which leads to getting deeper insights on deep personal issues like anxiety, depressions, and so on. And it also helps to overcome traumas, because the traumas, the tracks in the snow, are actually covered in a new layer of snow. So it can help you for a lot of more psychological diseases. But it's also a great tool. I think I didn't use it yet, to actually get to know yourself better and get a deeper understanding of who you are and what you want in life.
Yeah.
And for some reason, it triggers with me the concept of changing your mind. The book is also called Change Your Mind. So that's why I picked it and I joined it a lot.
Yeah. I know, like, so LSD I haven't tried, so I have no experience with that one. But like, they are trying to get some micro dosages, I guess, to people, because it makes them less anxious and able to be more focused. In my opinion, and I don't know about you, but it's a little bit a shame to me. I feel that they kind of banned any research on substances like that for so long, when already in the beginning, when they were still able to research it, they already noticed that it could have positive effects. Like it was actually, I think, actively used by psychologists or psychiatrists to treat people that have anxiety issues or that have severe depressions and so on. So
yeah. And that's a problem. Some researchers feel like this is like a magic bullet we have to solve depressions and anxieties. But because of the image of drugs and the war on drugs in the United States, mostly by President Reagan and Margaret Thatcher in the UK, and also here we also have a war on drugs. It is like it's prohibited to do something with it. And every science, every research shows the great effects of those kind of substances. So it's like a public. I'm looking for the right word. I can't find it. Stigma. Stigma is the right word. And the stigma, I think, is slowing down academic research, is hurting academic research, and just development of psychology.
Yep. I agree. I certainly hope that over the next, but I think like in 20 years, like Belgium is a little bit slow, I feel like on those kind of things. But like in 20 years, I believe like even in Belgium, we should be able to reintroduce stuff like that to help people with psychological problems, and maybe also sometimes recreation. I don't know. That's up to the people that use it, right? There's some drugs that should definitely never be allowed, but I mean, if it can be proven that it can be beneficial or there's no real harm if it's in the right setting and so on, then I believe it should be allowed.
That's part of the problem. Like we classify them like we classify heroin and cocaine, and looking at it from a scientific standpoint, these are totally different substances. Quick question: do you hear the vacuum cleaner?
I hear a beep, but I thought it was my washing machine. So
okay, but I think it's okay with the ears, but I hear it over here. They're cleaning.
Oh no, yeah, but it's fine. I don't hear a loud noise, so it's good.
Awesome.
I think so. I got the book and I started reading it, and they mention in the beginning that it is not about marijuana or about weed in the book. So like regarding any of those type of substances, have you tried any of them?
Well, it's prohibited in Belgium, so it's a question I shouldn't answer.
All right.
On air, so I will let the listener guess.
All right.
But I never did a full psychedelics experience, so I never did it. It's a little bit scary because you take a deep look into your own mind. I might do it in the future because it's very fascinating to me. So yeah, that's my answer.
A very diplomatic answer. A lot of people, I feel like they are not open to try that kind of stuff because they don't like losing control of themselves or on about their mind or something like that. But still, like in those glorious times where you could still go out, still we drink alcohol every time we go out. So that's a little bit weird. And still, if you talk to people like even like our age, if you tell them, oh yeah, but drugs is also, but alcohol is also a drugs, they look at you like, yeah, but that's not the same. Like, have you seen the studies on what alcohol does to your body and your brain? I mean, it's
And the number of deaths.
yeah, also.
If you compare the number of people dying from alcohol versus dying from other drugs, and I don't condone drugs. So I'm not an advocate of cocaine, heroin, marijuana, whatever. Those are really drugs to me, not psychedelics. But yeah, alcohol is a hard drug.
Yeah, definitely, and yeah, like you said, a lot more deadly. Like you nod off so quickly if you drink something. Like if you're already tired and after a night out, and then even a split second of just closing your eyes. Yeah, I mean, the chances of getting into an accident at speeds of 90 plus kilometers an hour is, it's crazy.
Yeah, and even on the long term, like the impact on families that are with alcohol abuse, it's a lot of shit happening there. So yeah, it's a matter of the stigmas and the public perception on substances, and that changes over time. Like alcohol used to be prohibited in the United States in the 30s, and now it's cannabis that is prohibited. And you also see it changing. Like you now see also CBD oil stores popping up even in Ghent in Belgium, which is also cannabis extract. So it's all evolving, and it goes up and down in history.
Yeah, what I've noticed, my local what's it called? My local night shop. But I'm not sure. I'm not going to say my exact location because I don't want to get them in trouble. But it seems like they also have these kind of products that I'm not sure. Like it's kind of in the gray area, I think, right now. And like the whole counter is full with CBD products. But CBD, I think, is illegal, right?
Yeah, because it's extracted from marijuana, but it doesn't contain the psychoactive parts, the THC. I think
THC.
It's not in there, so it's not giving you a certain high or something.
Yeah.
But it's calming you down. It's good for relaxation apparently. I didn't try it yet.
Yeah, I also haven't tried, but like they are starting to legalize it in the U.S. right now under Biden. So I'm wondering how long it will take Belgium to do something like that. What do you think?
Yeah, but if you see it right here, like owning 3 plants per person it's not legal, but they will condone it. They will not give you a fine. So it's kind of accepted more and more. And also for medicinal use, I think it's also possible in Belgium to get it legally if you use it to treat pain and so on. So yeah, the public perception is changing, especially in marijuana. And also marijuana isn't comparable to cocaine or heroin or ketamine or whatever.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I recently discovered so I read about marijuana is that it can actually induce like Alzheimer in the long run, which that scares me a little bit. Like every disease that has to do with my brain, I want to keep as far away as possible. Because I mean, there's some. Your brain is still like the most powerful. Yeah, I mean, that's what drives everything in your body. So you have to keep it healthy. What do you do to keep your brain healthy, like on a daily basis? Or what healthy habits do you have for that?
But I think now it's the running, the habit I mentioned in the beginning of the session, and that I picked up a few months ago. That is now giving me like mental ease. Like I know now if I have a very heavy week with some stress, of course, then I look forward to just wake up on Saturday, have a coffee, go running to actually clear the head. Also on nights when it's dark, it helps me to get rested, to get a clear head. And also walking. I discovered walking this year. If you would say last year, like, hey, Stefaan, let's go on a walk, I would never do it because it was boring and nothing to see in Belgium. But I really started to enjoy it, just going for long walks in the nature and cities. And we have so many beautiful little places in Belgium that we never were aware of. So, and walking for me is now also, it's making me zen, it's making me it gives me a clear head. So I think those two now give me the most energy, most in the weekends to recharge for a new week. And I think on weekdays, it's trying to eat healthy. I like eating, so that's always a challenge. But I notice when I eat a lot of vegetables, not too many carbs, not too many sugars, I keep my energy levels up. And I think one of the extra habits that I also discovered this year is actually sharing with people what's on your mind. I used to be somebody, and I'm still am, who is when I'm dealing with something, I try to process it on my own. But now I'll learn to, and it's also related to my to Rubicon, the company I'm building, is to actually just share with other people like what's on my mind, what am I dealing with, where am I stuck, or what are my questions. And just talking to people, being vulnerable, really helps you to actually get it out there and get new insights from other people. And I think that's also something that is helping me. But it shows you that often you're not alone when thinking about a certain problem. Everybody has very similar problems. That's something I learned. And it gives you like a little bit of perspective, and you can put things into perspective. Like, okay, it's not the end of the world. And if you keep thinking about it in your own head, then you just make stuff worse. You're just ventilating a lot of stuff to a lot of different people. Really helps me to keep sane, let's say. So that was.
Did you deal well with the whole work from home thing, like on a mental basis, or how did it make you feel? Did you have ups and downs, or what did you do?
I worked a lot from home, my own home in the first lockdown. So then me and my girlfriend were in my house in Nazareth. Then it was okay because the sun was shining. We discovered walking. We drank a lot of rosé wine. Life was good, so I didn't have any problem over there. Except the normal ups and downs everybody had in that period. It was kind of like a scary time looking back at it. What helped me is that my girlfriend is living in Antwerp. I'm living in Nazareth. So now I'm switching homes, let's say, every week. So I spend a few days here in my place. I spend a few days at her place in Antwerp. So I have like a switch of scenery every week, which is nice. It helps me. And I'm also working from a co-working space in Ghent, which stays open because it's every company's own responsibility to go to the office or work from home. It's very quiet here, so from time to time I also go to the office just to have another scenery. I'm alone here, I'm alone at home, so the difference isn't really there. But it helps me to have a different view, to have a different desk I'm sitting in. And I must say, the working from home, I used to get very energized about it. In the first lockdown, it was very easy. But now, if I'm working at home, I feel trapped. I want to go outside. I want to be somewhere else. So it's not really my thing, to be honest.
What I've noticed in the beginning of the lockdown, so I've been working at home from I think March last year or something like that, and I also live on my own. So there's no roommate. I had one, but left because of the lockdown. And in the beginning, I worked from my room the whole time. So I slept, I woke up, and then took 2 steps, I was on my desk. But after a while, I mean, it didn't really feel good. And also I knew that you have to switch areas to keep work and private life, I guess, separate. And now I'm working from the living room, which helps a little bit, but it's still, it's still a room where you go to for fun, right? So
that's the key. In the first lockdown, the first week, I worked at my kitchen table. So that's where I read the newspaper in the morning, worked, had lunch, worked, had dinner, and at evenings I still would find myself at my laptop on my kitchen table. And then you had it wasn't a good feeling. And then I also decorated my home office. I put a plant in it. So when I had a Zoom call, there was a nice plant in the background. You might have seen it one day. And I really also create different types of areas in my house. And that helped me actually to maintain a schedule. And then I knew it was going down. It was for relaxation. It was for cooking. It was for eating, for taking coffee. But you have to switch it up, definitely.
And so did you develop new habits during this period besides the sports and eating thing? And how do you actually build a new habit? Because
I'm thinking about other habits I built. The reading was there before the lockdown. I think those are the most important habits I actually built. And that's also one of my biggest beliefs about habit building. You shouldn't be building 10 habits or 50 new habits in a few months or even in a year. One of the key elements of building a new habit is very small. Like for example, I used to be the kind of person like on Sunday I was eating French fries and a hamburger and so on, and then I would say like, okay, from tomorrow there's no sugar, no carbs, no
Yeah.
Coca-Cola, nothing, and you go extreme, and by Monday afternoon you just feel like I need to binge something because I'm going so extreme. So that's one of the biggest mistakes I made a lot. I made it 100 times, I think, in different types of things. Also with sports, like, okay, this week I'm gonna run 50 kilometers after after being 6 months inactive in my couch. So it's starting very small. It's saying like, okay, tomorrow I will maybe don't eat carbs at lunch, but have some pasta at night, for example. Or this like this week I will just go for 2 runs, and it shouldn't be very fast. It should be 15 minutes, 20 minutes. That's okay. Just doing something small, because then you see like, okay, this is feasible. This is not too hard, and then you will get encouraged to do it even more and more. One of the biggest traps is setting your goals so high that you will never achieve them, and then you become demotivated and you just go the other way. You say like, I can't eat healthy, so I could just eat a pizza, eat fries, drink a Coca-Cola, whatever, because I'm not somebody who can eat healthy, and you get demotivated. So that's one of the biggest traps we step into.
Yeah, it's like one of the worst habits I have, and I still can't get rid of, is snoozing. So do it every day, and they say that the best way to kind of get off of snoozing is by just setting your alarm, or if you want to wake up earlier, mostly, is to just start by setting your alarm like 5 minutes earlier, only 5 minutes, and then
small steps.
Yep, and work from there. But you say small steps, and you're the co-founder of 4 different companies. Like how, for example, this is one we've also done together, the Lokaal Online one. Was this an example of not doing small steps, or what do you think? Because Lokaal Online, I'm not saying this to I don't know, to annoy you or something, but I'm just curious about what went wrong with Lokaal Online.
Yeah, interesting question. And in the beginning of the talk, I mentioned that I was indeed all over the place and did a lot of things that interested me, but that didn't were my passion looking back. I think Lokaal Online was one of these projects. So to give some context, Lokaal Online started in my hometown Nazareth on the first day of the lockdown. We saw shops closing. We saw that no local shop had a website, a web shop. So we thought like, hey, this could be a cool non-profit project. We have time. We have nothing to do in the weekends. Let's create a web shop for the butcher, the clothing store in the village. So that's something that started small. It's like in our own village with the local Unizo organization. But for me, it all went down in the end. It went down. It sounds really bad, but we just decided like, hey, we're not going to continue this for 2 reasons. One of them is that we were with 4 co-founders. We all liked it, but it wasn't our passion. We had other projects running, which were our passion. I also had already Rubicon in the back of my head at the time. I also had EBBC. Lokaal Online was one extra project, and it was the same for the other 3 co-founders. We all had different things. And the second one, if you also saw it, Michiel, e-commerce, you have the big players, you have Amazon, Bol.com, they have the market. Then you have the local small retailers in the villages. They don't know anything about e-commerce, and it's really hard to convince them that e-commerce is the future. So what we saw is that a lot of shop owners said like, okay, this might be cool, but I don't know. I don't want to do this. I don't want to put my energy in it. And we also saw it from the sector organizations, Unizo, the retail organization. They also said like, yeah, it's cool, go ahead, but we don't see it. It will all go back to normal. So for me, it was like a 19th century mindset often.
Yep.
And I'm now putting it black and white. We also had a few believers who actually were doing Facebook and Instagram marketing to boost visitors to the web shop. But in the end, we felt like, okay, if we're going to do this, it will cost us blood, sweat, and tears to actually make it happen. And we will probably need 6 months, 1 year to actually get a revenue to actually have a sustainable company, a for-profit organization. And that combined with the fact that it wasn't our passion, it was not something we would bleed for. And I firmly believe if you want to start a company and you could do something new, disruptive, it will take time. You will have to suffer, you will have to bleed, but you will only do that if you truly believe in what you're doing. And I didn't have that with Lokaal Online. I believed in the concept, I believed in the future of local e-commerce, but it was not something I should be doing because I didn't have the passion for the sector or for the problem we were solving. And I hope other people will solve it who are very passionate about it. So if somebody's listening who is passionate, just do it.
Hopefully, I think like the small shops, maybe they don't see the value in having an online shop, or they're just happy with what they are selling right now and the amount they're selling and the amount of work they put in. They're not really looking to put in extra work or to making more money. Maybe it's just because that's their passion, their shop as is. I think I've heard it from you before. It's also because of a book you read, I think, that you also believe that some companies they shouldn't focus on growth, right? Some companies, there's like a charm in staying small, and I don't want to paraphrase you in the wrong way, but it was something like that, right?
Yeah, it was the book I did a LinkedIn post, I think, on the book Company of One, and I also hosted an EBBC session, which is indeed a book about staying small. That can be a good idea. And the main thesis is not that growth is bad. I believe in growth. Growth is necessary. If you have to pay wages, you have to grow as a company. But we often see that startups or companies are growing for the sake of growing. Like growing, they see growing as a goal, and growing is not a goal, it's a mean towards an end. And the book is all about thinking about what is the end goal for me. And it has examples of entrepreneurs who say, like, for me, the end goal is to live a balanced life. I want to work in the morning, take my surfboard and go surfing in the afternoon. That's my end goal. And then you should build a company that's bringing in the money you need to maintain that lifestyle. But you don't need a company that is hiring 100 people and leading to you working 7 days in a week. That's not a mean towards your end goal. So it's all about looking at growth more carefully, seeing growth as a mean and not as an end. It's a means to an end. And you often see like entrepreneurs like, okay, we need to grow more revenue, more people on board, more shareholders, more capital. But it's often a trap. And people start with entrepreneurship to become free. But if you only focus on growth, you will never be free because growth will be your boss. The employees you hire will be your boss. The people who invest money in your startup will be your boss. So it's all about rethinking the end goal. What is the real goal? What is the reason I'm actually doing this?
Do you know examples of entrepreneurs that are doing it the right way, I'd say, like that are not focusing on growth, or entrepreneurs that you are looking up to, I guess?
Well, the book had some examples. It was mostly like one man or one woman companies. The book was also called Company of One, so small companies. They had some examples of some guy living in Canada with the surfing example I just mentioned. Somebody else who just wanted to travel the world and have an online business. So you see some kind of examples over there. I think one of the other examples, and it was not in the book, but I think the company Patagonia. I'm reading the book of the founder, Let My People Go Surfing. They also, growth is not the goal for them, but creating a positive impact is a goal for them, a positive impact on the environment, on the world. So they grow to get in money, to actually invest the money also in environmental campaigns and stuff that is actually just good for the world. So they really thought like, okay, what is for us the goal? It's positive impact. And how do we create that impact? By growing, by creating revenue and investing the profits in sustainability projects. So I think that's one of the examples where this framework really applies.
Yep. Do you think that anyone can be an entrepreneur? Because in my eyes, you seem like a successful entrepreneur. But I'm wondering, like, are there people that should never get into it, or like some characteristics of people that should get into it? Something like that.
Yeah. Well, it's a very difficult question, and my answer evolved
Sorry
over the
for the
years.
difficult questions, Stefan.
No, I like different difficult questions. It makes me think, so that's always nice. I would say, or I personally believe, but I'm biased. I like people who are entrepreneurial. So I often say like everybody should try to build something from scratch once in their life. Just give it a try, see if it's something for you, and see if it's not something for you. And that's the second part of my answer. It's not something for everybody. Um, it brings along a lot of responsibility, a lot of stress. You have to take risks. So if you don't like taking risks, then it will be difficult, or you will not jump fast enough if you're avoiding all risks. So you have to have some risk-taking appetite, and you have to be somebody who is comfortable with doing something you've never done before. When you're starting a company, for example, you like podcasting. You could say like, hey, I want to make a company out of podcasting. Your main focus is podcasting. That's why you're doing this. But if you want to make a company out of it, and I don't know your next steps with the podcasting thing, I think you should make a company out of it, by the way. But if you'll make a company out of it, suddenly you will have to do finance, like what is my P&L, my profit and loss. Maybe you will work with freelancers, you will have to hire people, you will have to do your accounting, you will have to do marketing and sales to get people on the podcast. So you have to do everything that is there in the business world by yourself in the first phase. And then also hire people and actually coach those people to also do the things you're not good at and make them succeed in their jobs. So you have to do a lot of things you've never done before. And some people like doing it, the things they have never done before. I like it, it gives me energy, but it also gives me a lot of stress. I'm not gonna lie. And everybody doubts himself at different times. But in the end, you have to do it, and you just have to keep continuing it. And I think perseverance is one very important factor. And also gratification, dealing with gratification, or keeping the long-term goals in your head every day, and forgetting about short-term gratification. For example, if you want a six-pack, if I would live by my instant gratification, I would go to French fries because I like it. It gives me a good feeling on the short term, but on the long term, it will hurt me. It will not help me reach my goals. And as an entrepreneur, it all depends on the kind of company you're building. But there will be times where you will not have any income for 6 months or even a year, or shorter or longer. But you always have to keep the long-term perspective in mind, and keep faith that one day the money will come. It will not be today, not be tomorrow, but it might be in 6 months or in 3 months or in 2 years. Nobody knows. You don't know. You might have a business plan, but what's a business plan? It's just numbers on paper. It changes all the time. So it's keeping the long-term perspective and keeping faith that you will actually reach it, even though everything might fail on Monday, and even on Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday and Friday. So I think resilience is the key word. The key word I would apply here.
Resilience, long-term vision, passion, and then perseverance. That's the reason I started with the podcast, is because I tend to start a lot of things, but not finish them. And I just set a goal for the podcast, like I want to talk to 1 person a week, like on average, because I've failed last week already, but like on average, like 52 people a year. Like that's the goal for 2021, 52 people. And that's, I actively look for new people to come on the podcast, because this is like, this one time I want to do something and stick to it, like for a whole year. That's probably one of the habits that I will have kept for the longest time ever, I guess, except for like hobbies that you enjoy instantly, I guess. But yeah, that's one of the reasons. I don't know if it's like the idea, of course, and that's also the reason why it's in English, is to have it be like a global podcast, so anyone can listen to it. So hopefully after a year we'll see some kind of trend towards global, like people from all over the world that are listening to this. Right now it's just
Would be
Brazil
nice.
and Belgium. So 5%
Brazil,
from Brazil,
nice.
yeah. You can actually see the
Yeah.
stats on Spotify, because it's also on Spotify as well, on YouTube and on Spotify. And I don't know, maybe it's they are fake people or bots, I don't know, but at least it says 5%. So I would really love to meet one of the the Brazilian people that are listening to
Yeah.
to this, and also
Yeah.
because that's a main point that I got from Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Yeah, I thought it was going to be all about money, but there's really a lot of stuff in there that you can just take with you into your regular life. And the main thing for me is, or was from reading the book, is just take action. Just do it. Don't think like, oh no, I can't do it, or it will be bad in the beginning, or everybody will laugh. No, just get started and build some skills around it, and you'll get better over time. That's the
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm a big fan of the MVP principle, so minimum viable product. You have to put something out in the world very fast. We did it with Rubicon, we did it at EBBC, we did it with Local Online. We had a crappy web shop we put up in one day just to test the concept. Like, are people actually, do they need this? Do we solve a problem with this? And if you wait, you could say like, hey, I want to practice my podcasting skills for 5 years without releasing any podcast, but then you just lose 5 years. And now I like the mindset, I will do 52 episodes this year. If you would compare episode 1 with episode 52, the skills you show, the quality will have evolved so much. And I always like the saying, you should be ashamed when you look at the first version of your product or your service.
Yep.
If you're not ashamed, you launch too late.
Yeah, I definitely believe that's true. And I'm sure, like, if you watch the first episode, which was actually with a friend still in real life, but then I did a reboot with Maarten. But it's very different. Like doing a call over video and then in real life is a lot different. But there's already some progress, or I would hope there to be some progress already.
There definitely will be. If you do this every week, you learn something every new episode.
Yep.
So
And also just the skill of conversation itself is also an important one to build at, which is one that I was a little bit afraid of losing right now, because working from home, you don't talk to a lot of people, and a little bit contradictory, but my whole day is in English already, because I work at an international company. So I'd like to just have conversations with people that are not about work, I guess. So yeah, helps. I have an idea about entrepreneurs, or what makes ultra successful entrepreneurs. And it is that they all, like, there's something missing in their head. Like the ultra professional or the ultra successful people, they all had like some kind of trauma when they were a kid, or they had something traumatic happen in their life. And I believe that's something that gives those entrepreneurs like a drive that's so big that they just don't know anything else. They just have to perform well. It's kind of a way to deal with the traumatic event, I think. Do you agree with that, or do you think that's not necessary?
I think there are some entrepreneurs who come from a, for example, very traumatic experience that gives them a drive to make the best out of life. There are definitely some examples of those kind of people. I also think you can be a great entrepreneur if you just had a very pleasant childhood, a very pleasant college time, and just started a company after graduating, everything normal. So I think you have examples of all types of people with all types of experiences and backgrounds. I personally do believe that if you have a setback, if you come from a hardship, it can be an acceleration in some parts of your life. For example, if you come from a poor background, you might, or you can be more motivated to make the best out of life, to really show that you're successful. If you feel an underdog position, you have people that actually use it as a force to become better and to go bigger. Mm-hmm. But it's so different for everybody. So I don't think there's one type of childhood you should have had mm-hmm. as an entrepreneur.
I'm
it's a lot of things that impacted.
To be successful, that you have to had a traumatic experience, but I was trying to like think of entrepreneurs in my head, and then like their backstory, I guess, and they all like have something in common, that they have some kind of traumatic experience. But probably, like you said, there's no single event or single characteristic that can define if somebody will be a good entrepreneur or not, or a very successful one at that. Yeah, I agree. So what, you already finished the How to Change Your Mind book, right? So what are you reading right now? Are you still reading? Still time?
Yeah, now this week I started reading the book Let My People Go Surfing by the founder of Patagonia, the outdoor company with the social impact I just mentioned earlier. So that's the book I'm reading right now. I have some books I'm halfway, but I didn't get to the end.
Are you one of those people that reads multiple books at the same time and then?
Yeah, I try to limit it. I often stop reading in a book at page 150, for example, and then the last 50 pages, I can't get to them because I'm more triggered by another book or another theme. But now I just started reading this book and will just finish it before reopening another one. But I have too many unfinished books on my Goodreads account. It's like 5 of them and it makes me nervous that they're not finished.
Ah, yes, that was one of your goals. I think you put it in a LinkedIn post that you want to have more followers on Goodreads than, or was it on Instagram? I don't know what the other one was.
Yeah, it was Instagram. It's not working. Not many people are on Goodreads.
No. Well, actually, I don't know how many followers. Is it followers on Goodreads? I don't know.
Or friends. I think it's friends. They call it friends.
How many do you have right now?
I don't know. Less than 50?
Ah, okay.
I think.
All right. Yeah.
Let me check.
Maybe I don't know if you can add audiobooks as well on Goodreads. Maybe if they added that as a source that you could say you read or listened to, that would work a little bit better. But because I feel a lot of people, they just don't like to read anymore. It's a little bit of a shame.
Yeah, I have 79 friends, so it's more.
All right, almost.
It's more than 50.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. We're getting there, but it's not nowhere near Instagram.
On Instagram, but you're very active on Instagram, right? Or,
yeah, I think too active. For some reason, I like making stories of a lot of stuff, just normal stuff: a tree, dinner, music.
Yeah,
books.
I really like the ones where you're, because you're also a DJ or a producer. I'm not sure exactly.
I bought DJ gear in the lockdown in March.
Ah, okay.
I wanted a new hobby, so but it's been a few weeks since the last time I used it. But I just like to do it in my own house. I never played for an audience. It was on the bucket list for 2020, but of course that didn't happen.
Yep.
But one day it's a dream of me that has been there for 10 years to be a DJ at a big event and just get people hyped up and fired up.
I feel like
in the
you
club.
would definitely be able to do that. I always enjoy watching the stories where you're behind the deck, and like when you're like really into it, you seem to be very enthusiastic about it all. It's a joy to watch, and also you do this kind of I don't know, sketches. Kind of like I wouldn't really say sketches, but some of those are like funny daily things. So it's very entertaining, at least to me. Maybe we just have the same kind of humor.
Good to hear. I often wonder like what are people thinking of me when I'm posting this stuff.
But I mean that's also something I like about the stuff that you do. It's like sometimes. And I like your content. Like, for example, on Instagram, it's maybe like, I don't know, a little bit weird sometimes, I guess. That's how you could call it. And maybe some people are like, but what's he doing? But what I really like is that you just go for it. Like, if you like to do something and you enjoy it, there will be enough people that will enjoy it too, but it certainly doesn't feel like you don't really care in that area what other people think. You just go for it.
It's a funny observation because I always think that I care too much about what other people think.
But then you would
it's
post
funny.
on Instagram, right?
Yeah, maybe you got me thinking. I think I care more in real life. Like when I'm meeting somebody, I will care more like what is he or she thinking and how should I behave. Maybe on Instagram because it's not face to face that you are interacting with people.
Mm-hmm.
It's like me posting a story towards an audience of blurry faces. I don't know who is watching. You could count, but I don't count, of course, who is watching. I think that might be different. But I do care, like, for example, and it's very stupid to say when I post a story and nobody is reacting, I think, like, oh, what are people thinking? Is it not funny? Is it stupid?
Yeah.
So I think about it a lot, I think. That's one, yeah.
But you have it a little bit more in real life, you said.
But I think so. I think it's more visible in real life when you're interacting with people. On Instagram, I have a little bit more. But again, I truly believe like if you post stuff on Instagram or on Facebook to be seen, you are looking for some kind of social acceptation. And there's nothing wrong with it. But I mean, that's the reason people post stuff on Instagram.
yeah.
And that's the reason why social media is so popular because we all want to be accepted
Yes.
by our peers. So if I post something, I do it for other people and not really for myself, and nobody does. So it's all related to being accepted and changing the image you want to show to the world.
Yeah, definitely. You mentioned that you're really thinking about the way you behave in real life, like in interactions with other people. So a few years back, I read something about like the physical behavior, like the way you are holding your hands, for example, when you're talking to people, or the way your feet are pointed, or your arms are crossed or uncrossed, or stuff like that. But that book, I don't know, you probably also know stuff like that, but that really, it messed with my head a little bit, because you start to overanalyze every single thing a person does when he's standing in front of you.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
It's strange,
yeah.
yeah. If you start observing yourself, I noticed a few weeks ago when I have physical meetings and I say something, when I start speaking, I will go like this. When I'm speaking, and when I'm finished, I go like that. And it's really strange, like, why am I doing this when I'm speaking?
You're very comfortable. Or maybe are
Yeah,
you,
it looks comfortable.
is it like, are you doing it naturally, or are you doing it because you read that that's like some kind of power stance?
No, it's naturally, I don't know. I also noticed that when I'm speaking, I start moving. You might have seen it while I'm speaking here. I was sitting like this, and then I was like this, and I'm constantly moving when I'm speaking. I don't know why.
It's just something natural. You're not really influenced by the things you read in that regard, then, I guess.
No, I'm a big believer in the importance of body language, but I didn't spend too much time investigating myself. I just noticed a few things that I tend to do when I'm talking.
Yeah. I did notice that some of the things work, but it mostly helped me identify when people do it to me. Like, because some of the things work. Like, I had somebody a while ago, when we were still working in physical spaces and so on. And when she talked to me, she always like put her shoulder, her hand on my shoulder, like for acceptance. And I was really annoyed by that, because it's kind of a manipulative move to make somebody like you. So I was really annoyed by that she did that. And I guess a lot of people, they're also annoyed, but they don't know that it's just something you can do to make people like you, I guess. And that's
definitely. Yeah.
So
There's a lot of power moves.
yeah. I try not to read into them a lot anymore. And also, it doesn't really work because I don't meet anyone anymore. So that's also something that helps.
The benefits.
Yeah, the benefits. At least there are some. There definitely are some. What would you say the biggest benefit to this whole situation is?
To this year or?
To working from home, lockdown kind of stuff that they're doing right now.
I think going back to the essence, like a lot of extra stuff that makes life complicated is gone. and I feel like there's more time to focus on the essence, the things that actually matter. So there's a lot less noise, I think. Life is easier. I mean, life was harder when I was working in Antwerp and I had an event in Brussels, and then I have to drive home to Ghent, and the weekends the same. So that's kind of complexity is gone. But then that's a benefit, but in the end, life is very efficient, which gives me headspace, literally. But I'm looking for the right word here.
Maybe it's too efficient.
Life doesn't feel very, yeah, it's too efficient. You should have something like surprises or unplanned nights out,
some struggles or bumps in the road, I guess. That's
bumps in the road, or just doing something that wasn't planned, and now it's just like, well, I already know what my weekend is gonna be like. I'm gonna run, walk, read, drink a glass of wine. I know I can't. It's Hell Week. I won't drink any wine, probably. So that gives me a peace of mind. Like, okay, I'm gonna relax this weekend, but in the end, I miss the spontaneous get-togethers and dinners and drinks with friends. But I think you were asking for benefits, so I'm looking at the bright side. I think it's the focus on the essence for me, and taking the time for the things that actually matter to me was really and still is a benefit.
Yeah, I agree. Right now, it's like what's the biggest benefit? I'll try to answer it myself as well. Biggest benefit. Well, I was going to say transport to work, but my job was only 5 minutes away by bike, so it doesn't really change much in that regard. But it's more like when work is done, like you can just do whatever. It's like there's just that you stop working and then immediately it's the day is over. That's something I like. I like my job right now, but like it's that's the biggest advantage, I would say. Something I ask all my guests, and I still don't know why I didn't tell you in advance, because it's on my list for some of the things that I always have to do. But I always ask my guests if there's a question that they would like to ask themselves and answer, of course.
Question to ask myself.
Yeah, or me, but like preferably yourself, but could also be a question directed to me.
It's a very hard question.
Yeah, that's why I should always tell people
Now
in advance that I'm going to ask the question.
You're putting me on the spot, and I have to come up with something witty because this is live.
Yeah, no, but that's no, I know. It's like I think you're the 6th person on the podcast. No, wait. I think the 6th one, yeah. And I've only managed to warn 3 people in advance that I was going to ask the question. It's kind of a surprise. I'm still looking for something to differentiate this podcast between all the others that exist right now, because it seems like everyone and their grandmother is starting a podcast these days. So you have to find something. I feel like the biggest thing is that I'll talk to like anyone. Right, at least right now I start with people that I know, but they could be from any branch, is what I'm saying. And that's different from the other podcasts that I know that have a specific theme in mind. I'm kind of talking while you can think about a question to ask.
Yeah, I have a question in my head. I've been asking myself the last week by coincidence. I tend to do a lot of introspection, so look at myself and start questioning things I do or things I think or things I say. And one question I recently had, I was discussing it with my co-founder also yesterday, like, who am I without focusing on what I'm doing? And let me explain the question. I did a personality test a few days ago, and I'm somebody, I identify myself with what I'm doing.
What kind of test was it? Did you have is like a what's it called? With the letters? combination.
Yeah,
that
but
you
it's
get?
it's deeper. It's also paying tests like 150 euros,
Oh,
but very very good. I will send you the name. It's
yeah, interesting.
I can't remember the name right now.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the results was that I'm a kind of person who is, I identify myself by the things I do. So that's where I get my self-esteem. That's where I get like it's the self-image of myself. And a question I had for myself was, okay, without thinking about what am I doing or what I want to do, who am I? So being instead of doing, who is Stefan instead of what is Stefan doing?
There's like,
And that's a really hard
yeah,
question.
on a deeper level, it's kind of like,
Yeah.
what's your core? Who are you at your core? It's kind of what you're asking
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah, indeed.
Have you figured out
So
yet?
please don't ask for the answer because I don't have it. But it's a question that has been in my mind for the last days. It's something I want to formulate an answer to because it's a really fascinating one.
Maybe it's something that it's more important to ask you the question and to not expect to find the answer. But like I think the most important thing is that just for everyone on the planet, just ask yourself the question, who are you? Like it's something, introspection is something that I also do a lot, but it seems like a lot of people, they don't really think about why they feel happy sometimes or why they feel sad sometimes. And like in any case, you should be able to know that about yourself or know how to resolve, well, if you're sad, for example, what is causing it and what works for me or for you when you're sad. That's something.
Yeah, definitely. That's emotional intelligence. I think it's a very valuable skill, like recognizing and reading your own emotions and responding to it in a good manner. Is something very hard, but something so powerful if you master it.
Is it something?
And you will never master it 100%, of course, but.
And is it something you succeed at the moment?
But it's something I struggle with, but maybe it feels like struggling because I'm thinking a lot about it. So I'm often asking myself like, okay, now you're feeling stressed or frustrated or anxious about something. Why this feeling? Why this emotion? How should you respond to this emotion, and not how to avoid this emotion? I think recognizing your emotions is a very powerful thing, and you can't. You actually, I believe that you can't change how you feel or what emotion you feel, but what you can do change is how you respond to it. For example, if I would feel the emotion anger, I can yell at you, I can hit you in the face, but I have a choice on how to respond and how to respond in the most constructive way. And by actually thinking about, okay, this emotion is anger, where is it coming from, and how can I react differently with a better outcome. And I think often we get an emotion, we react immediately without thinking about it. And I think the fact of pausing, thinking for 5-10 seconds, and then reacting in a mostly different way is a really powerful thing. Is it something I'm master? No, it isn't. It's something I'm struggling with, but it's something that was also really fascinating me on how to be more effective also in interpersonal relations.
It's like, I think it's kind of like ruling your emotions instead of letting your emotions rule you. But I think that's
it's
also,
being in control. Yeah.
I think it's a very intensive thing or unless you are very trained at it, I think it's a very mentally taxing thing to be aware of how you feel the whole time. And I mean, it's pretty easy to do when everything is going relatively well. I think at the moments when it's not going well, then it's a lot harder to still do.
Yeah, definitely. And that's when you make impulsive reactions. So for example, a professional example for me, when I got into stressful situations, for example, I was a consultant. I got a phone call, the client wasn't happy, this and that. I would get in a panic mode and just do panic things. Like say, oh, sorry, I will do this and that and promise everything to make them happy instantly. So just panicking and doing the wrong stuff without really thinking it through. And more pleasing the people instead of serving them. And by actually taking the time, like, okay, this is a situation, this is how I feel anxious, how should I respond? Should I reply now to this email? or should I become more stable first and more happy before I actually dive into this? And how can I avoid going into panic mode and firefighting mode? So that's something I saw a lot of times in my career. Like, okay, something is happening, panic mode, I will just do something very quickly. And that's something by emotional intelligence you can actually start managing and controlling. And choosing your action instead of just following your brain that is panicking and on fire.
Yeah. Do you know the book, how to change your brain, or how the brain works? Do I?
I didn't read it yet. It's on my Goodreads to read list, I think.
should have it somewhere behind me, I think. There's so many books, I forget where I put them all. Yeah, but it's kind of, I was thinking about the analogy that you made in the beginning, about the snow, the snowy mountain, and then some fresh snow that is falling onto it. And the other analogy that they used in that book, and I forgot my train of thought for a little bit, but they have the analogy with a river. And like each time, like some learned behavior, for example, like the water just streams, and every time the water streams through those channels, it just makes the trench a little bit deeper and firmer. And after a while, people are so stuck into those ways that they are not able to create new habits. And one of the things that I found really interesting in that book is a way to avoid that, or to actually make room in your brain for new channels that you can walk through, is to fall in love, is what they said. Oxytocin in the brain allows you to make new neural pathways and to learn new stuff instead. It's kind of like an eraser for your brain.
Yeah, but I think it's the same effect of the psychedelics. But that's that same process on steroids, I think. But indeed, it's a great metaphor. It's very similar. I also heard a metaphor about doing a little trail in the woods, and after a few days, the trail is getting bigger and bigger. And after 1 year, it's a highway with trucks driving over it. But it's indeed creating little trails in your brain, and they will get deeper or bigger or broader. And it becomes harder to change it.
So what would be one of those roads that you would want to erase or make less deep? Or what's a road you would like to create, a new one you would like to create this year? Like the number one new thing or experience you want to have and get grooved in your brain by the end of this year. We still have 10 more months, so
a lot of time. I think I'm rather risk averse, which is not bad because I take calculated risks. I'm somewhere in the middle, I think. But I often feel like I play a lot on the defense, so I play not to lose. But I would like to play more on the offense, so playing to win instead of not to lose. So I see that behavior when I make decisions. I tend to focus on the worst case scenarios and mitigate them and find solutions for risks that might occur. But that often limits me from going on the offense, going all in, going 100%. And I think one of the trails I have in my brains is that cautious part that I want to bury a little bit and go more on the offense. Like if I say, okay, this is a decision I make, I will do this, then I should do it 100% and not 70% to play it safe. So that's something that's been on my mind for a few months that I'm also working on. But I think if I would make some steps or progress this year, I would be happy. And I think it's also an aspect that will have an impact on a lot of different areas in my life. To just make decisions and go for it 100%. And don't look too much back.
Yeah, sounds like a very good thing to focus on. At least definitely when you're if you're taking the entrepreneurial route, it's probably a good thing to nurture. So, getting back to the EBBC, when do you think the first live session will be again? Do you have an
Hard to
idea?
tell. I think April or May seems realistic, but again, we don't know it. We'll see. I'm not really worried about it. We have a cool online format. We're experimenting with it. We might also experiment with hybrid sessions when it's possible, so a part online and part offline,
Yeah,
with a live stream and so on. I hope towards the summer. That should be the safe bet.
I hope so too. I would really like to join real life sessions again and finally present a book myself, as I said a lot of times before.
Awesome.
And actually, there's a new one coming out by one of the books that I proposed to present was the 12 Rules for Life one by Jordan Peterson, which is not really is technically not a business book, but it has lessons that can be applied anywhere in life, which can help in your business life, I guess.
Definitely.
And he wrote a new one, and it's coming out at the beginning of March. So if that's a good one, maybe
Yeah,
that's a good one
sounds
as
like
well.
a plan.
Yeah, definitely.
Just do it.
Of course, yeah. And also start running again. Yeah, that would also be nice. Do you have a final book recommendation, like one book that everyone should read?
Yeah, so many books people should read.
I know, but like the
Let
number
me
one,
think.
your favorite one from the last, I don't know, months or years.
I like Shoe Dog a lot, from the founder of Nike.
Oh.
You might have it.
Yeah,
And
also
you reminded
some,
me of it by saying "just do it," the Nike mantra. But I really liked that book. I read it a few years ago. That's one of my top 3 books. Second one, which I liked and are mostly business focused, is Bad Bloods. It's but a story about a startup that's faking it till they make it, but they never make it, and they keep faking it, and it's extreme. It reads like a thriller.
Is it a real
reads like a
life
movie.
thing? Is it fiction or?
Yeah,
No,
it's from a
real.
real life company
Oh.
of Silicon Valley, who was working in the medtech industry. Very good book. So those 2. What are other good books I read? Yeah, and the psychedelics books, How to Change Your Mind by Michael Pollan.
Yeah.
You should read it, and not because you're interested in psychedelics or drugs or whatever, but just because it gives you great insight in how our brain is working, what kind of research was happening in the 50s and 60s, and it just makes you think.
Yeah, well, that's
Really liked
definitely
it.
the next one I'm going to finish. I already have it on my my ebook reader, and I started reading it a few days ago, I think. So definitely a good one to recommend. Stefaan, I want to thank you a lot.
My pleasure.
For having
Thank
this
you for the invitation.
At some point, I was hesitant if you wanted to do this, but I'm very glad that you joined. Really made my day. You were on like my top list of people I really wanted to have on someday. So I'm glad you did it, and hopefully we can like do this again, but maybe in real life, and also with some kind of other specific gadget. I make limoncello myself, so then we can try out some.
I saw it. Yeah.
So then,
Awesome.
then we can try out some limoncello on the conversation, which might lead to I don't know, to funny conversations. I don't know, but I'm looking forward to meeting you in real life, whether on the podcast or somewhere else. Maybe EBBC meeting or somewhere else, but yeah.
Likewise. We will meet soon, I'm sure of that, online or offline. Hopefully offline.
And yeah, definitely. What was the plan right now? So you said you had to be in bed at 10, but I guess that's going to be a little bit hard. Sorry.
Yeah, for the listeners, it's now 9:48, so I have 12 minutes. I'm at the co-working space, so I have a 10-minute drive. I have to go to the bathroom. I have to brush my teeth. It will be impossible. It will be 10:15, I think, but that's still okay. I hope.
All right, but
I will post it in my WhatsApp group with the Perfect Week people. Like, hey, I'm just now in my bed. Are you angry with me? And we'll see what happens.
I hope they will understand. But I wish you a very
Yeah,
good
I'm sure.
night, and I hope you will succeed at all the other challenges this week and for the rest of your year. And thank you very much for joining the call, Stefan.
Thanks, Michiel. Thanks for having me.
All right.
I enjoyed it.
Thank you
All
very
right.
much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.